I believe that, let's see, I think we're feeding out to the folks out there. Let us know if there's any issues, if you're hearing us loud and clear. Okay, here we go. Here's Babyface joining right now. Um, all right, I'll throw Babyface here in the mix. All right, so listen, let me start this off the way that I usually do here. I want to remind everyone to go to hankstrange.com. Very important. That's where you're going to find all our links. There's certain links that we can't put in a lot of different places, right? So go to hankstrange.com, find those links. Lola works on throwing up deals and things like that there under Lola's Deals. As well as you can find some links there for US Law Shield. You guys can sign up. If you do an annual membership, you save some money, and we get a couple of shekels going in our direction. I want to send a big thank you out there to Walther Arms for sponsoring the show. We appreciate those guys. Otherwise, we wouldn't be able to keep the lights on and pay for the internet and all that kind of stuff around here. Okay, before I get into the show here, I usually try to do like a movie quote nowadays, right? And I was looking, we're going to talk about night vision tonight, so I was looking for a movie quote that had to do with night vision. And maybe I didn't search well enough, but the one that I found comes from Blades of Glory. The movie Blades of Glory with Will Ferrell and John Heder. And here's the line. The character Chaz says, "The night is a very dark time for me." And then Jimmy says to Chaz, "It's dark for everyone, moron." And Chaz says, "Not for Alaskans or dudes with night vision goggles." Boom! There you go. All right.
It solves it.
All right.
I'm staying solved.
Yes, this is going to be a fun show. I think it's going to probably be easy for me because I don't know a lot about night vision, so I'm just going to be switching here between all the aficionados and everything. We're going to get all official and explain that to everyone. Let's get into the open. Let's do that now.
Welcome back to the Hank Strange
All right, guys,
Situation.
don't forget to smash that subscribe button, smash the thumbs ups, ring the bell so you can be notified when we go live. Who has a bell? Where's it? There you go. There's a bell. Boom. All right, the sounds of freedom. We are live. All right, so Don is new. Everyone else knows we got to do jazz hands. Doesn't matter how tough you are.
Nope.
Everyone has to do. Oh well, okay. Kevin Dixie does his version of jazz hands. Oh, there you go. All right, I hope you guys have your big girl panties on. Tonight's going to be a great show. This is episode 791 of the Who Moved My Freedom podcast. I'm your host, Hank Strange. We are talking night vision with Don Edwards of Greenline Tactical. That's who we have right here, this gentleman. Let's go full screen. Don, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
We also, joining him will be Kevin Dixie, who... Kevin. I would say Kevin might get a little bit offended by this, but he's definitely a gun snob. I don't care what he says. So
I'm a gun snob. Me?
Snob. Oh, what?
Wait. We'll get to
you, Kevin Dixie.
or single PVS 14 or dual tubes. Let's hear how snobbish.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Well, yeah. See, when we get to talk about night vision, I'm very not snobbish. But he called me a gun snob. That's gonna be a whole other conversation, right?
Oh yeah, you are. You are.
Wow.
Yeah, I've seen your guns. Please don't even try it. Don't even try it. Okay. Also joining us. I'm starting early. Also joining us, Babyface P, who is a newly minted aficionado, I guess. Yeah, Patrick is that guy. Patrick is that guy right now who just got in the game and knows everything. That dude. Oh boy. Yeah. So listen, we're going to talk about this for the whole 2 hours. Let's start off with Don here. Don, if you could tell the folks, like, who are you? What's your background? What did you do before you started Greenline Tactical, etc.? Where are you located? All that kind of good stuff.
Et cetera, et cetera. Okay.
Yeah.
Thanks for having me on, Hank. I really appreciate it. Good to see you, Kevin. Nice to meet you. Babyface, whatever your first name is.
Yeah, just call him Babyface P. Babyface P.
Or you can call him Patrick. Either one.
Or Patrick. Okay. I'm Don Edwards. I'm the owner of Greenline Tactical. My background, I started out mostly military special operations. I was an Army Ranger, retired from the Special Forces. In the SF, I was a National Guard guy, so I had a dual career as a trainer in the law enforcement arena and various things like that. So firearms and tactics instruction has just been something that has been my thing for a long, long time in various roles. I've been developing tactical style night vision programs for over 10 years now, probably close to 15 years, with a company that I used to be part owner in that is still doing it. Up until about 4 years ago, I was the law enforcement sales director and director of training for TNVC, Tactical Night Vision. So night vision is not the only thing that I do, but it seems to be I'm one of the few guys that does it as much as I do. That'd be a good way to say it, Kevin.
Mm-hmm.
You've been around me in the night vision world.
Fair.
You know, I do all the other shooting and tactics training stuff that you know, a lot of guys with my background do, but I'm one of the few guys that's really heavy into the night vision, especially as a trainer. I do some consulting for some companies. TNVC is still one of my clients. B.E. Myers manufactures them all, and some other companies that I work with as far as, you know, anybody that needs a hand with something. Usually, if it's night vision related, I can offer them something like that. So I love getting down in and helping with the new product development, or, you know, just testing it out and, you know, validating stuff like that. So that's pretty much me. I like to shoot things. I like to shoot things in the dark.
Okay. All right. Very cool. So, I mean, really good pedigree there. And I think the person that we need to thank for that is the gun snob himself, Kevin Dixie.
Oh, man.
But you're the reason I'm here, right, Kevin? That's what I hear.
Well, you know, hey, you know, it's what we do. We tell other good people about good people. And when I got the call,
Right.
It's like, hey, we want to bring you on and talk about night vision. I'm like, yeah, so let's make another call to make sure we can have a well-rounded conversation. And so it was like either you or Sam. And I don't think the people are ready for Sam yet. We gotta
Yeah, well, actually,
walk
Sam's
them in
kind
to
of busy right
Sam.
now, but yeah, he's an acquired taste.
Oh,
Yeah.
Okay. Who's that?
Sam's a good dude. Sam's like the really, really nerdy when he likes to get into all the like spectrums and all that kind of crazy mess.
Oh, yeah.
But I was like, you know what, Don's really good, and not just because he talks night vision. You know, as an instructor, I can tell when I'm around a good teacher. You know, I can really tell, and I've actually been through his course. And it wasn't just about the fact that, it was night vision. To his credit, he can actually teach. Like, he even had to do like a miniature RDS class, with red dot systems in it, to help people understand how to operate that pistol red dot on their knives. So he had to like kind of transfer over to his RDS school real quick and bring it back. So he's not just a night vision guy. He's a great instructor. So that's why I was like, you know what, I think the people should know Don, and I'm glad to see him on here.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well,
and I would
appreciate you,
encourage... What's going on?
I just said I appreciate you, man.
Oh, okay. And I would encourage everyone. Let me see. I pressed the wrong button. Here's Greenline Tactical,
Yep.
all one word. That's on Instagram. You guys go there, check that out, follow him. That would be a great thing to do. We will get into other things here. Babyface is like probably as happy as a pig in mud, if that's the.
Listen, I'm gonna sit and listen, because I built my PVS 14 2 weeks ago and took it to the mountains and played with it. Literally this afternoon, my Team Woody bump came in. So yeah, I'm gonna sit and just soak in whatever I can, whatever knowledge I can.
Yeah. Listen, I'm here. Look, I'm really just here to do the switching. Okay. I like the idea of night vision. I don't have any yet. I was looking forward to this just because I could hear the conversation and get into it myself. So, you know, where do we want to start here, Don? Like, what's the introductory stuff that people should know? Like, what's the first things?
Well, some of the questions that I always hear that you know, like I told you before we went live, we could sit here all night long, could we not, Kevin, and just talk about night vision. Kevin knows my night fighter course. We've got a solid 4 hours of classroom presentation about this.
Holy jeez. Okay.
Oh yeah, and there's still questions.
Okay.
And I'll stay in the classroom until all the questions are answered, because the range stuff is just
money.
Sorry about that. That's a super chat came in, so we got to recognize the super chats. Armament and Axis says it gave us $2. He says a start for Hank's night vision fund. So thanks for that. Yeah.
All right.
So
you're getting there.
Yeah.
Get ready.
Yeah.
Get
So
ready.
go ahead.
I was just gonna say, when we play with the PVS 14, you'll get hooked, and you're gonna want to get into it too.
Yeah.
So we like to say that being able to see in the dark is in fact a superpower. And it is a superpower that you can buy. And you know, we jokingly give the example of Tony Stark and Bruce Wayne. Their only superpower is being rich assholes, right?
Mm-hmm.
They can buy all the gadgets to be, Batman and Iron Man or whatever. So, but it costs money to get into the game. And that's always the big question is, what's it going to cost? What do I need? How much am I going to have to spend to get into the game? And still about right now, I say about $5,000 is what it costs to get into it with a monocular and a decent laser system on a rifle, assuming that you have the gun and all the other stuff that you need to go with it. And that's with good quality PVS 14, but maybe not a white phosphor, maybe a standard green, a decent bump helmet of some sort. The mount and the laser is going to add up to right around $5,000-ish. Add another $1,000 if you want unfilmed white phosphor, which is a higher quality, higher spec type of system. Now, if you want to go dual tube, something like this.
Oh, wait, I went to the wrong person. Hold on. Yeah, let's see that.
Am I holding this the right way? Something like this. These are my DT-MVSs on a carbon fiber helmet. This is more of a $10-ish thousand.
Yeah, I can tell that's expensive because I can see blue lights in it already, or some kind of blue reflection.
Well, it's not only is it. I mean, this is the DT-NVS, which is kind of the hottest dual tube out there these days. It's the lightest. Well, I used to say commercially available, but the PVS 31s are now available, which are a couple ounces lighter than this. But and I'd have to look on the internet and see what they're costing these days. But you're looking at $7,000 to $8,000, depending upon the type of tube that you have inside of it.
And what company makes that? So that's like
the actual housing itself is made by a company called Acton Black. They're out of Luxembourg.
Okay.
And but the goggle is assembled and built by TNBC. There are other companies out there.
Okay.
And that's another thing that if you think about, so everybody here probably knows how to build an AR-15, right? And here's the analogy that I give is you could get online and you could buy everything you could find on sale and build yourself an AR-15, and you could probably do it with a pair of vice grips and a screwdriver. And is it going to work? Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
Are you going to want to rely on it? I don't know. Or you can, have an armor who's highly qualified that has all the right tools with all the right, most high spec parts that are in spec and quality, and he can build you a high end rifle that is gonna perform under harsh conditions. So that's kind of what you got there. Is these are built. Inside there's a tube, and I don't have one with me that makes all the magic happen. Those are made in one of two factories. So everybody that makes a goggle has to buy them from either L3 or a company called Harris, or not Harris. They're called Elbit Systems now. So then you have a choice of body housing. This is the DT-NVS. Monocular has the same kind of thing on the inside, but it's assembled. So it just gets assembled by somebody who knows what they're doing, that has all the right tools, that can torque everything to spec, nitrogen purge it, make sure that the parts are mil spec. If that's what you're looking for is something that is gonna maintain its quality and resist the conditions, the weather and stuff like that.
Wait, hold on here. Why did everyone freeze?
Makes this one here particularly. It's a TNBC, not exclusive, but they import the housing and then they build the rest.
Okay, all right. I think we got a little.
I know I hit a lot of different subjects right there in that one little thing.
Right. Yeah, I think.
Kevin, how am I doing?
You're doing good. You're doing good. I don't know if we froze.
Doing great.
Yeah, I don't know if we froze there for a second. Let me get this super chat from Zach Carr.
Money.
He gave us $5. He says $5 on the Hank nods. I think we're just just got like another $10,672
got a bunch more to go.
Yeah. Yeah. So okay, Patrick, like Kevin, whoever, you guys jump in here.
Yeah, man.
Like, it's obviously really expensive game to get into. Do you think it's best for someone to save up money, do layaway on something, get cheap stuff, take a class? Like, what's the?
Pat, I'll let you go.
A couple different options.
Oh, okay,
Go
okay.
ahead, man.
For me, don't. I always say don't go into debt. Like, there's no reason to go into debt. Save your pennies. If there's a place that does layaway's never a bad thing because you're just paying towards something. You're not, in debt. I just put out a video on how to build a PVS 14. These things are pretty simple. It's not going to be professionally built. It'll be built by you, and you can choose. Like, I chose a used Anvis 9 tube. But there are ways to get into it. But yeah, definitely don't go into debt over it. That's not worth it. Save your pennies up and buy. And I from what I have been told, start with the single tube and then move into, because eventually you're going to want other stuff. Eventually, I know I'm going to have a dual tube. It's just,
Yeah.
from what I hear, everybody does that. So
Yeah. Do you guys agree with that?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I would definitely say going into debt is a bad idea. We joke around and we say don't be poor, but what we really mean is being poor is a mindset.
Mm-hmm.
If your priority is I want night vision, then save for it. Make other sacrifices so that you can save that money if it's a priority to you.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I think saving. There are like TVC and some other places have a financing option, and I've talked to customers when I work there that they're like, well, I've got the money right now, but I'd rather not spend it all. I'll go ahead and finance it. If the wait time is going to be 3 months anyways, I'll have it paid off by the time I get it, kind of thing. I'll pay it off.
I can see that. I can absolutely see that.
Like
for somebody that's got $100 in the bank and goes, I want night vision, you may need to do a little saving.
Yeah.
If you have good credit, I didn't realize you have to wait 3 months. There's no way.
There are the lead times. They fluctuate, but right now lead times are pretty long for a lot of factory built type of units because the demand is so high, and the biggest slowdown I believe is the intensification tubes on the inside. They only make them so fast, and the demand on the consumer market is like it's never been before.
I was going to ask
2 years have been crazy.
Do you have any idea what's driving that? Is it just literally things like this where people see it and go, that's freaking cool, I want it?
Yeah, I think it's also a lot of people, the last few times there's been a scare on, people buying guns and stuff. A lot of those guys have all the nice rifles. They've been thinking about getting night vision. Now, instead of panic buying a couple of new ARs, they're getting night vision. They're getting thermal. Stuff like
if
that.
we're going to have the purge... I'm sorry. I will sell some guns and get night vision if we're going purge mode. Okay, so Kevin, what's your opinion on this? The money thing.
Well, when it comes to the finances, I tell people all the time, man, you have to be smart with your finances. I mean, this is coming from a guy that has a signature gun that costs $2,000, and I don't push it down people's throat because it's not for everybody, right? We're at different phases in our lives. We have different priorities. Don't try to be so busy being the cool kid that you're actually disappointing your real children because you're trying to impress people on the internet and your buddies at the range. It's not a smart thing to do. For me, when you start looking at getting into it, once you've said, okay, I actually do have, or I've saved up and I have the financial means to get into it, then you have to start thinking not only about the nods, you have to start thinking about the illuminator that's going to be attached to the weapon system. Then you have to start thinking about what you're going to attach the nod to as far as wearing it on your head. Then you have to understand like everything. You know how you go buy a car? Some of the stuff is just, if you break it down real simple, it gets easier for people. You go buy a car, but when you buy the vehicle, you're not done. Right? Like you have all these things. You have to pay sales tax. You have to, you might want to put some new wheels on the thing. You're going to need to put gas in it immediately. Like you have all these different services that you're going to need to complement that vehicle. Insurance, right?
Yeah.
All these different things come along with it. So don't just think, oh, I got $3,000 saved up and now I'm going to go out and buy the cheapest PVS 14 I can find because I found a buddy with one he's willing to offload. Then you're going to be $3,000. You got one monocular sitting at home and it might be a good tube. You got on a good deal. Right. And now you're going to be like, oh, yeah, man, I need a mount, dude. The mount that is my Wilcox mount. That damn thing is $430. That part right there is $430, right? So
Okay.
it's not like
Can
you're
that
just
be
going to go
3D
buy it.
printed? What the hell? That's a lot. Okay.
Sure. Right. Like,
Okay.
see, but
And
you
you
got to.
can-
But when you start thinking about, oh, go ahead,
That's a
Pat.
lot of
You got
money.
something to say? Go
I
ahead.
was just gonna say the funny thing you'll notice is there. Oh, did we freeze up again?
No, you're good. I see you guys.
Okay.
No, you're good.
It might be on my end. The funny thing you'll notice is there are certain things that are kind of the buy once cry once and that's what I was told. G24, buy once cry once. Don't go. Just do it.
Yep.
Just do it. So I did.
Let's do it.
Yeah. So, but yeah, there are things like that, but there are also other things you can go different ways on. Some guys buy. It seems some guys will go and buy an ACH helmet off of eBay for $100 or $150 instead of going, $300-$400 for a nice bump helmet. But yeah, no, I'm with Kevin on it all the way. Save your pennies and then also get what you want because you're always going to be wanting more. You're going to buy it if you accept less than what you truly wanted. You're always going to look back and go, "Oh man, I wish I would have just waited a couple more months and bought this or had this or got this as well."
Mm-hmm.
And then you're going to buy it
and then,
eventually and spend the
right.
money, and then you're out double the money. So
Yeah.
Yeah, and don't forget the
we
fact that
have
not only
another
do you have
saying
to
that-
get the. Oh, go ahead, Don.
I would say we have another
Oh.
saying just that good night vision isn't cheap, and cheap night vision usually isn't good. And a lot of times there's some buyer's remorse when guys try to save a little bit here and there, and like, wow, this is really not as good as this other stuff that I could have saved up a couple more months for, or something like that. Without, if somebody says, hey, I got this for you for sale, it's $1,000. Unless you know the history of that thing, and it's like your buddy who's getting a divorce and he's trying to hide it from his ex-wife or something, usually $1,000 worth of night vision is not as good as $1,000 worth of flashlights.
Okay. Kevin, what were you gonna say there?
I'm sorry. What?
Yeah.
Oh. Okay. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. At dinner.
No.
The other part I was going to add to that is, so yeah, you got this $3,000 thing. Maybe your buddy sold it to you for a great price. You got it sitting at home. Now you have to think about complimenting it, right? So now you have to get them out. Now you're going to need to go get the helmet or whatever you're going to stick on your head. And then you're going to look at the helmet and be like, well, I saw these cool dudes with all this other crap on the top of their head. So then you're going to have to go accessorize the helmet, right? And so that could be
my helmet came in today.
Yeah.
And now I'm sitting here and I'm like, shit, look at those cool helmets. They got like
look at
contacts
that.
on
Look
the
at that
side.
thing.
Yeah, this is
they
a
got
cool helmet.
contacts or swordons on the side. That's another thing.
Yeah, hold it up a little higher,
it's-
Don. A little higher. And a little go a little bit to the left. I guess.
There's all sorts of
The other
all
left.
sorts of
There you
cool
go. There
shit.
you go. Up higher. Oh, there you go. Yeah. Yeah. So what all do you have on there? What's on there?
So everything's kind of gray, but right here, this is the Ear Pro, or the electronic comms stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So this is an Ops Core carbon fiber helmet. So it's almost as expensive as their ballistic helmets. This is the Ops Core amps that attach to it and rotate down for your basically your Ear Pro, or you plug it into your radio if that's what you do for a living. This is also Ops Core product. This is their step-in visor. I really like to use for eye protection if you're in the wind and stuff like that. They work really well. They don't hug up against your face. And then a counterweight in the back. Now, the visor and the amps aren't necessarily something that you must have. But guys ask me all the time, do I need a counterweight? And the answer to that is, if you're buying duals, I say you definitely want a counterweight. If you have a single tube of PBS-14, then it's nice to have, and you may not use all the weight. Counterweight's one of those things. It seemed counterintuitive to me for years that why would I put more weight on my head?
Mm-hmm.
But what it does is it keeps it from pulling forward, that forward leverage that goes like this all night long. The back of your neck's going to be sore in the morning, right? So it just kind of balances out that teeter-totter on your head like that, and it works great. I don't notice the extra weight, but what I notice is I don't have the forward pull of the MVGs like I used to.
Okay, and that's not.
So-
I'm assuming that's not good for your spine, your neck, and stuff like that over time.
I'm sure it's not. That's probably why I got a bad neck and spine, because for years I knew nothing about that stuff.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Kevin, what are you showing there? Is that a weight or a phone? I see you.
It's one of the
banging.
counterweights.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Oh.
Yeah, so
Oh.
this is one of them. I got two in mind now. I had three, and that was just too dang on much, so I got two of them. But just wanted to show people, and you literally like it bends, so it bends relatively easy for the back of the helmet, so you can curve it relatively easy and put it back there. So
How much
yeah,
weight
but the
is
weights
that
are.
right there in your hand? How much weight is that? Like,
Oh, Jesus Christ! I don't know, Don, tagging you in, man. How much is
That I don't know what kind you have there. These ones that are in the
these are
Mohawk.
the lead weights. Oh God, it's three of these jokers. They're
Yeah,
lead
I
weight.
imagine usually it's a full pound if you have all of them.
oh,
So I don't know. The Mohawk that I use has a little battery tray built into it, so store some extra batteries, which is kind of cool. And then it's got these lead weights that are similar to that, but they're like this,
yeah.
almost like
Okay.
wheel
Oh,
weights.
okay.
You can bend
Okay.
them. Each one of these is a quarter pound, and it comes with 4, so it's kind of customizable. If I was just using a PVS 14, not as much weight, I might take a couple of these out and just go with about half of that or something.
Yeah.
But
So I don't know.
definitely
I don't know if
helps.
this is a rational question or not. By the way, let me just remind everyone: smash those thumbs ups. Like, should you go for the helmet? Is the helmet the way to go here? Like, what's the
Yeah, for the
what's the
most part,
option?
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, for the most part, yes. I have an example here of this is, I think, Spiritus Systems version of Cry Precision makes one called the Nightcap. There's a few different brands of it, but these things, for the most part, they're great if you're not doing much of anything. But if you're walking around out on the range or something like that, they just aren't rigid enough to keep it from flopping around on your head.
Okay.
You know what I mean? So I tell guys, even a plastic bump helmet, OpsCore makes that. OpsCore and Team Wendy both make a real good, just a injection molded. That one you got there.
Yeah.
Nothing
What's
wrong
this,
with that.
Patrick? What's that you got?
This is a Team Windy pump.
Okay.
Yep. Same
And what
thing
do those
right here.
cost these days? About $250, $300.
This one was 300 new. Were running a 4th
Yeah.
of July sale, so I got it for 250, something like that.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
So
What
that's-
does Kevin
Same
have
one. This is
here?
a Team
same
Wendy
thing.
as well.
same
Oh,
one.
okay.
Yeah, same helmet.
Okay. All right. Cool. Okay. So that's a good option.
Yeah, it definitely is. Not everybody needs a ballistic helmet.
Okay.
The benefit to the carbon fibers and the plastic bumps is they're lighter on your head. Usually they have vent holes cut in them. So like I live in the South, so that's kind of nice when you're out and it's hot and you're sweating and it kind of keeps your head from getting too
Yeah.
hot. So
Yeah.
you know,
Already
yeah.
wearing a lot of gear like this. Even I don't even like having these headsets on my head. What happens? Is this the kind of thing that you're going for if there's a bump in the night? Are you going for this? Do you have that helmet next to your bed? What's the?
I don't know, but some guys.
I was gonna
do.
say I'll let you guys answer that. I don't think it's as practical for that sort of thing. I think white light on a rifle's plenty enough for that.
Yeah.
But you guys have more experience with it, so I want to hear your opinions.
In my home, that wouldn't be. If I had a farm or a ranch, I lived out in the country, then it might be different. If I had different situation, but I live in a suburban neighborhood, so there's street lights right outside my front door and stuff. I'm not going to don the helmet and all that just for that. But
Yeah.
I have plenty of people that also they live out in the middle of nowhere. And
Yeah.
that's their thing.
Yeah. Where I live, it's pitch black out here. With
Yeah.
Yeah. Kevin, do you have an opinion on that one?
Using it for a home defense, I think is, unless, because there are always a variable, right? You can throw in there. So like the guy living out in a ranch or somebody that's a little isolated where it's really, really pitch black, I think it's probably going to be slim to none. To be honest with you, I think a good white light and some skills and some training with an adequate firearm will do you just fine. And yeah, that's it. I think, but you should have a philosophy behind getting it. There is always America, I want it. And I'm with that, right? So I'm with that 100,000%.
Right.
But I didn't get into it because of my home. I got into it because of what happened outside of my home. I never thought that I would necessarily need night vision through all my training and everything I did. Even when I was working my little desk back at the PD, when I got to play with the HRT guys, whenever they would let me come out to the range and hang out with them, they barely even had night vision. Like it was something really like you had to be like the coolest of the cool kids, and then it was only loaned out to you. It's not like you got to take it home. So I didn't really think much of it. And never when I started learning everything I learned about firearms and tactics, night vision was more of a watching guys like Don and movies that were made about them. You know what I mean? It's not something that you really saw over here be used a lot. And you saw it in movies. But then Ferguson happened. Mm-hmm. And I got the phone call I got from a police buddy of mine that was a cop at the time. When I got the call from him saying that his department, he lived in the Ferguson area, but he didn't work there. But everybody in the neighborhood knew he was a cop. And so when he called me, I stayed about 10 minutes away. And when he gave me a call saying, I need your help, I got 7 dudes outside, 4 armed with long guns that are telling me they're about to murder me and my entire family because, you know, he's a cop. And I called my department and I called my local PD and they have no cars to send to me. I need your help. And I didn't have night vision at the time. I got everything else. And so me and another buddy of mine that was happened to be over my house, we bugged out of there real quick and got over to his house. And I encountered the guys that he was talking about. I encountered them 35, 40 yards away in a neighboring yard. And, you know, it was cool to deal with getting from the vehicle to the home. Only thing he had was his department issue Glock 22. That's the only thing he had in that house for defense. So I brought him a 12 gauge shotgun. We had a couple of ARs. I did have my plate carry on. We made it into the home safe. And then we were in there about 15 minutes later and the lights went out. And the dudes were still outside and the lights went out and they were still walking around the house. They were walking around the perimeter. Now I got 3 grown men, adults there now that have guns. Really, one of us only had some real training and that was me. He had minor training that you get from a PD, but come on, we all know what that's about. And then we have, I think 7 juveniles in the house and his wife. And so if these dudes start deciding to shoot in this house, it's going to be a bad day. If they decide to come in the house and engage, can I beat them with white light? Did I have white light equipped on my rifle? Yes. But I didn't want them to see where I was at. And if I shine white light outside, I'm like, as soon as they see a light, they're just going to start shooting into this house. I'm like, man, I'm at a kind of a disadvantage. I wish I could see at night. And that's what made me think about night vision. That instant. And then the next day I had to go outside once again because people coming into my neighborhood. And luckily I had the luxury of street lights, but had the street lights went out like they did over there, once again, I would have been at a disadvantage because as soon as I illuminate, I got 7 dudes. I'm not going to be able to illuminate in quarter of a second, drop 7 guys, right? That's not going to be happening. So I was like, man, that would be really good to be able to see at night. And so then that's when I said I need to start bringing that into my repertoire. But that didn't even push me over the edge enough. Hog hunting did. And I'm like, okay, now I got 2 valid reasons that I want night vision, so I went out and got into it. So you just really have to think about what you're getting it for. But like I said, I will always default to America and I want it. Cool. Absolutely. And then you got to train with it too. Like this, even me, this guy, you see, sure, I'm an instructor. I get the privilege of teaching Americans how to defend themselves and all those good old things. And, with a rifle and a handgun, I think I'm just as good as anybody else with plenty of room to grow. However, when I got night vision, first thing I did was ask my buddies that owned it a lot of questions. And then I said, all right, I had my night vision, and 2 to 3 months later after getting it, I was already in Don's class. I did not take this night vision out without taking a training class first.
Okay. So I don't know, Don, if you want to respond to that before I get into anything?
No, I mean,
okay.
Kevin shared that with me at the class, and I appreciate you coming to my class, Kevin, and I understand that the gravity, the graveness behind your motivation. So it always means a lot to me. One last thing though is, because I think there was another question in there about like, should you go into debt, blah blah blah, what should you do? There are, greenlinetactical.com, you could take a training course, right? But we have rental equipment. So what a lot of guys will do is they will come take the class before they spend the money, so that when they do spend the money, they're getting exactly what they know they want. We may not be able to issue you out exactly the equipment you're thinking about buying, but a lot of those guys use it as an opportunity to learn what they don't know before they go spend all that money. And I'm cool with it. You can do it either way. You don't have to come. We only charge like $200 to rent our gear.
Right.
Not a big deal, but that is a service that we provide for guys, and a lot of guys do it exactly for that reason. They're like, hey, I'm ready to pull the trigger, but I figured I'd take this class first instead of, hey, spending all this money and then showing up and going, man, I wish I'd have bought this instead of that.
Yeah, what is it, like buy once, cry once kind of a thing? You
Yeah,
know?
exactly.
And we advise that to people when it comes to guns, right? Folks who are getting into guns and worried about spending whatever money it is to get your first handgun. Okay, go rent it somewhere.
Yeah,
Right?
or
Hey,
bring what you have and learn about what you need.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
that's good too.
yeah. Razor
Can I
JB.
respond to one comment real quick?
Okay, go ahead.
I always try to engage and read to people when I can. So, Appalachian Gun Runner says, correct tactics with a light does not give your position away. Yes, envy is best, but with proper tactics, white light doesn't give your position away. This is why we have to be careful when we start giving out information online, because that's absolutely false. If you got 7 dudes, you got to look at the parameters of what I've discussed. If you got 7 dudes that are armed with guns, outside of what I don't know what we call these things, framed and drywall homes, these little quick build them in 30-day homes. If you have that, if somebody sees anything, a spectacle of light, and if you're pointing a light at somebody, they're going to see either the splash or they're going to see the hot spot. They're going to see one of the two. They're going to see a light somehow, some way. If you have 7 untrained dudes that are looking to murder people standing outside, as soon as you engage with one, everybody is going to dump into that house. That's where tactics come into play at. So the tactical thing to do is not engage. It's not going to be fair. As soon as somebody gets lit up, you drop 1, 6 of them open fire. I got 7 juveniles in this house. That's called tactics. Sometimes being tactical is knowing when not to engage.
Yeah, and I think it's based on the scenario that you're in. I'm not sure.
Absolutely.
I'm not sure where he said that. He might have said that when we were just talking about, hey, do you need this if you live out in a farm type of area? And yeah, if something goes bump in the night and it's most likely some kind of animal, or even if it's one person out there, probably not that big of a deal. But yeah, in your scenario, I wouldn't want to give away anything. Okay, Babyface is back with Knob Creek for some reason.
We're talking about $5,000 worth of equipment. This feels appropriate to me, so this is what I'm going to be doing tonight.
There you go.
All right. Razor JB
Yeah,
said,
you get a decent white light, man, with a decent candela on it. People are gonna see it, right? It's not. You got to think you're dealing with pitch darkness. If somebody shines a light 20 yards to your right in pitch darkness, even if you catch a spill of the candela, you're gonna know that spot in the world is lighter than the rest of the spots in the world around me, right? And so we have to understand, when you're dealing with people that want to do nothing but cause you harm, they're not fighting back. It's not like it's G.I. Joe versus Cobra. These dudes don't have any kind of formal training. They're just kind of like, oh, mayhem, let's get it. And that's how you wind up with, innocent people shot and killed. So it's not to pick on him, but I just want to drive the point home. Everybody, we always discuss about tactics and do this and do that. Sometimes, man, the best tactic is just when to know when not to engage, period.
Well, yeah, and you're absolutely right. The situation is going to dictate your response and just about anything. And, white light is definitely part of the whole night fighter, complement. I don't just wear nods. There's white lights involved in all of that stuff, as you know, in the class. Being able to transition pretty seamlessly from one to the other and to know when and why is part of what we teach on the tactical side.
And when it comes to matters of life, I'm not a super tactical guy or anything like that, but when it comes to matters of life and death, I want to cheat as much as possible.
Yep.
Absolutely. I want the edge.
If you could do it. If you want to cheat as much as possible.
Have you seen the videos somebody broke into a house, three people broke into a house, and a guy meets him with an AR-15, and then the family bitches and moans like, oh, that was unfair, he had an unfair advantage, because that has been said before,
right?
First off, fuck you, and second off, I want that unfair advantage.
Yes,
absolutely.
Yeah, that's what you want. You want to rain hell down. Once human beings, I think in the scenario that Kevin was talking about, once human beings decide to go after other human beings for no damn reason, they forfeit their right to survive that. Okay?
Hey, man.
That's just the way that goes. Yep. That's the way that goes.
If you're in a fair fight, you already lost.
Yeah. So Razor JB said this. He says 95% of guys don't have the discipline to research and save, let alone the money for NVs.
Of course. It's a very niche. I I say market, but it's a very small piece of the pie when it comes
Mm-hmm.
to the overall,
Mm-hmm.
gun culture, gun community.
Mm-hmm.
It's a real specialized kind of thing, and
Mhm.
it's expensive. Most of the guys that are getting into it, in my experience or observation, anyways, are the guys that already have a safe full of really nice high-end AR-15s and
Mm-hmm.
your pistols with the red dots on them and whatnot. So the answer to the question, what's next, is usually night vision and long-distance shooting.
Yeah,
And,
I think so.
these are guys that have always wanted night vision. So now they're like, hey, I've got all the cool rifles. I got all the Knights and Noveskis and whatever I want.
Yeah,
Now let's get some nods.
yeah, for sure. That's what I notice about the gun world. It's steps.
Mhm.
You can get into this because you got a high point, and as time goes on, you start upgrading. Now you're a Glock guy. All of a sudden, you're a CZ guy. Next thing we know, like you said, you're doing long range shooting. And you're getting $5,000-$10,000 rifles.
Yeah.
A question for Don: do you,
Yeah.
off chance, do you post any YouTube videos not associated with your courses or TNVC? Because I've seen you on TNVC's stuff before.
Yeah, I have a YouTube channel, and I think I have like 22 followers, and I think there's one video from about 10 years ago on there.
Okay,
That's
different.
pretty
Your
much
voice sounded familiar.
My Achilles heel
There's
is
a channel.
media.
Oh, okay.
There's a channel
Yeah.
called Nightwalker, Nite, and I believe
Huh?
he had mentioned that he'd worked for TNVC. Your voice sounds very familiar to him. I didn't know if that was you,
Oh.
but
No, there is a Greenline Tactical YouTube channel, but I
don't use it.
making video content is high on my list of priorities, but it's not where it's where I've fallen down, I'd say, over the past several years.
No, it's a whole other game. I think you're doing fine. John Crump gave us some money here, so
Money,
we'll
money, money,
get that out.
money. Money.
He says, KD, didn't you get demonetized yet? I don't know what that's about. So,
Man, yeah, I put up a video, and YouTube was like, yeah, no money.
oh, they
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I've been demonetized a long time ago.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so when I put up
95% of my content.
all the content we're filming this year, which we actually are pretty busy with a couple of videographers and filming all the content this year, I already know I'm putting it out just to bring my spin on educating the American populace, not looking at making a dime off of it because, well, from YouTube anyway, they're not gonna, no,
Yeah.
absolutely not. I called them racist.
You called
I did
YouTube
that.
racist? Oh, okay.
Yeah, I emailed them. I said they're racist in the email.
Yeah.
That didn't help.
No, it doesn't.
I was like, yeah, that's a racist. Because I at the time, I mean, I was just, trolling them at that point.
Mhm.
But, it's kind of like when I did TikTok. I put I had never seen anything like this before. I posted the TikTok video. And I had, I'm watching all my buddies that I know have gun channels and are doing well on TikTok. They're like, dude, look, just make sure you say that you're an instructor. Make sure you're out on the range. Everything will be cool. I'm like, all right, great, no problem. I did all those things. And I went to TikTok. And I hit post, and I promise you, the screen said, no, thank you. It's like, what?
And denied.
No, and down, and no. And so the TikTok won't let me post gun videos either.
Oh, damn. Yeah. This is from Dan Hates You, and I think he's kind of tongue-in-cheek. He says, you don't need NVGs, you just need to rack that shotgun. Sounds like Joe Biden. Right
That
there.
sounds like Joe
Joe
Biden.
Biden reference.
like the president chimed in on that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
and then,
now night vision is great, but now here's the thing too, and Don did talk about it earlier when he was talking about guys being able to come and rent stuff before they buy. I'll tell you something. Everybody's like the nods, and you know what everybody forgets about? Even after we talk about the helmet, everybody forget about that dang on illuminator. And you think. Now, illuminators don't necessarily cost as much as the night vision goggles, but that ain't no cheap. And to
It
me,
depends.
let's see what
It
Don's
really
holding
depends
up
because
here.
that right there, in his hand right there, is stupid expensive.
What is that, Don?
well,
What is that?
That's a mall.
that's a mall.
From P.E. Myers.
Okay.
Well, when you say stupid expensive, not compared to the exact same things from other companies, such as the LA5 or the Raid and all that stuff. Those are even more. They're $3,500, $4,500.
Yeah.
Jeez.
So,
If you're looking for illuminators, because that's my next thing. That's what I don't have yet, and I want to illuminate to I have an MP5 that I want to illuminate, and I have my 11.5 AR that I want to illuminate.
Right.
Everybody seems maybe you guys can say this consensus I found on the internet is D-Ball I2 is kind of base level. That's what most people go for at the very minimum. If you want to go up from there, trying to find I've found that the full power market is so overly priced. Everybody wants full power, and not everybody needs it. But man, the prices on full power units is twice or three times what non-full power units can go for.
Well, and you're getting it on the secondary market because
Yes.
they can't sell it to you new. So
Yes,
for everybody
yeah.
who's listening, the FDA, yes, I said the FDA regulates the lasers, and the reason they do is because originally when they were put in charge of oversight for that, it was because they were medical devices. So a class 1 laser is what they deem to be eye safe and legal for civilian purchase. Is got to be 1 milliwatt or less in power, and they say that won't, necessarily cause blindness. It still could, because we're looking at duration, intensity, and all that stuff too. So therefore, the class 3 and 3 Bravo lasers that are military issue and restricted for government only aren't something that you can buy online from a regular dealer. There are some places you can find them, but those guys that are selling them to you are taking a chance.
Okay.
But so the class 1 laser is anemic in comparison, but it's definitely not. It's not a game stopper at all, in my opinion. Most of them that are any good, you can see out to easily 100 yards or more, depending upon what it is. Like the Maul, the class 1 version of the Maul, I've shot those things beyond 200, and that's beyond the distance that you could guaranteeably positively identify a threat.
Yeah, that's what I was.
So-
I mean, that's a question I always ask people when we're talking about these things, right? Regardless of what it is, what's the distance that you're theoretically fighting at here? That's really
Yeah.
what's
Well-
important for everyone. And what's yours
Yeah.
in this scenario?
Yeah, well, and there are other reasons why someone would want a full power, and most of it has to do with a tactical situation or a tactical scenario. And we went over a lot of this in the class that Kevin was in. To be able to push through what we call a photonic barrier, which would be a very dark area that I can't see what's on the other side, or I can't see through a wall of light to see what's on the other side. You know what I mean? Like, you know how you'll have street lights, and the street light is like a curtain of light, and I can't see what's going on beyond that. But during a white light scenario, if I've got a really powerful flashlight with lots of candela and lots of lumens, I can punch through that. Well, with night vision, if I have a full power laser and illuminator, then I can push through that. And that's where the civilian models, the civilian class 1 stuff tends to fall down. The Maul has a really good illuminator that is brighter than most, and it helps. Some of the other ones now are coming out with similar types of stuff, but that's where the more power really comes into its own, in my opinion, is when you're using it for other things besides shooting the gun, right? But I would say I disagree a little bit with what you said there about the I2, the D-Ball I2.
Okay, yeah. This is what I
In
want
my
to hear.
opinion, in my opinion, any laser that you want to spend some money on, unless it's for a specialty type of thing, should have an infrared laser, an infrared illuminator, and a visible laser. And these days, there's no reason not to have all three built into the same unit. The I2 will have two emitters. One will be a laser, and one will be either an illuminator or a visible laser, right? And you got to have an illuminator. And what a lot of guys try to do is they're like, well, I'm going to get this one, and then I'm going to get a surefire vampire light because it's infrared. Well, it's not very bright infrared. It's a 50-50, half IR, half white, so it doesn't do a good job at either one, if you will. So, and now I have two different switches that I have to turn on because I really want my laser, my infrared laser, and my illuminator to come on at the same time. So now I got two different devices I have to switch back and forth from. You can get dedicated infrared flashlights or flashlight heads. Modlight makes a really great one. But still, you're manipulating two different switches for two different devices. And now I got to have another flashlight for my white light. So having it all in one these days, I don't see any good reason not to, unless you have a small little PDW type gun and there's just not enough room. And there are specific weapon lasers that are made for those that just have like an infrared laser in it or something like that. So if you're looking at those, like Kevin was saying, you got to start looking at the laser component. You can spend anywhere from about $1,200 to $1,500 all the way up to, close to $3,000 on even a class one, a good quality class one laser setup. But that's the thing. Guys want to complain about why is this stuff so expensive? Well, it's really not that expensive if you think about it. 20 years ago, 25 years ago, a PVS 7, which is the single tube in the front setup that I hate, those were $7,500. 25 years ago, $7,500 was a hell of a lot more money than it is now.
Yeah.
For that kind of money, you can get top of the line duals. So the guys that are whining about how much this stuff costs, they don't know how good it is now. What you get for the same amount of money is so much more. So it's like, yeah, it's expensive, but man, so are big old flat screen TVs, and so are machine guns, and so are high end rifles and everything else. So it's a good scope.
Nowadays, you can get nice flat screen TVs for $300, which is ridiculous.
Yeah, I guess.
You could probably get like a 70-inch TV or something for $300. It's insane.
I get them secondhand, so I don't even know what that stuff costs.
I don't even want to look at them.
As much on a Night Force scope as you would pay for those for a PBS 14.
Yeah.
You spend. Go ahead,
I was
man.
gonna say, for new students, for new guys coming into it, what is your bottom? What is the laser that you would push somebody to?
I would say, if budget drives the train almost all the time, and I get it. So I joke around about the "don't be poor" thing, but I also understand that, if you could afford it, then buy the best you can afford. But the D-Ball A3 is a pretty decent unit because it has all three of those features in it, built into it. The ATPLC, which is the civilian powered version of the PEC-15, is a pretty good choice in the about 15. Both of them are about $1,500, so they're less than the mall. Those are probably the two those are probably the two up there. A lot of guys still also like the D-Ball D2. The biggest difference on that is it has a much more powerful illuminator side because it's LED based. It's just big and bulky because of that. And the downside to infrared LEDs is you can see them with the naked eye. They're red, so it's a big red glow that you can see. If it's not for social work, if this is your coyote and hog rifle, then maybe that's a good choice. But I wouldn't recommend it for life and death tactical team type stuff.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So I don't know if there's. I see there's a lot of questions here, but I don't know if you guys have questions or if maybe we should jog back a little bit here to the history part of this, because I thought that would be like a cool thing to get into since we have Don here. Okay. What's and you're an operator, right? What's the history of night vision? And let's go back to when did night vision start, and what was the thing? What were people doing before that? When
you could go all the way back to World War II when we basically kind of stole that technology from the Nazis, and they were working on developing what might have been Generation 1 or even Generation 1 minus, and it was had to be mounted on tanks, and it had to have these big old illuminators to even see anything and stuff like that. But as I understand it, we kind of stole some of that from them after the war.
Really?
They were trying to develop some of that stuff, and then we took it and ran with it. But then as we got into the Vietnam era, you had what they used to refer to as starlight scopes. That's Generation 1 and Generation 2 type stuff that it all works the same under the same principle of amplifying available light. So it takes in the light, whatever's out there, and it multiplies it into an image that you can see. And that's the easiest, quickest way I can say that. And it is optimized to do so light that's in the infrared and near infrared spectrum, because that's light that we can't necessarily see with the naked eye, but it also exists at nighttime. So, and as it just got better and better, we went, from generation 2 to generation 3, and that's where we are still right now, is at generation 3. We just keep getting better and better and better.
Wait, okay, so wait a second. So from the Nazis, going back, what is that, like 70 years or something, right?
Yeah.
Okay, we're at Gen 3?
Yeah, we're at Gen 3. Now, Gen 3 today is way better than it was about 15 or 20 years ago when we switched, when we went from Gen 2 to Gen 3. But there's really no Generation 4. And I'll back up a little bit. So when I was a young Army Ranger back in the 80s, late 80s, early 90s, we had the PVS 7s. And the first ones we had were Generation 2, and then we might have got some Generation 3 quality tubes inside of them. But then when we switched over to the monocular, the PVS 14, around 2000, late 90s, it was definitely Generation 3.
Okay. So I have some. There was some. I wanted to do a little show and tell because I got this from Walter.
Okay.
I don't know if our friend Walter. But oh my God, this is too heavy. Hold on, let me go. First of all, I'm gonna go full screen so you guys can see this. Okay, this thing is freaking heavy. So check this out. Does this look familiar?
There's stuff rattling in there.
I'm not that old.
So this big case here has some. I got this from Walter from Safety Harbor Firearms, and there is look at this thing that's in there. This is scary. Oh, something just fell on me, too. Yeah, this looks like you will definitely get cancer.
Yeah?
So,
just by plugging this in.
Size.
Yeah.
Here, come back over here.
Yeah.
This is what my PVS 14 fits in. It's a little tiny Pelican, and it's about, 100,000 times the brightness of that Gen.
Yeah, I mean,
Gen 1 year.
Right. Look at the frickin' look at the plugs on this thing. This is like for an iron when I was a kid.
Yeah, I mean that's how far we've come.
Yeah, it's so crazy.
And it gets
this
better,
is Gen.
and it gets lighter.
This is what Gen is this? This is Gen.
I have no idea.
One.
I'm not familiar
Probably
with that
one.
piece of gear, man.
Yeah, it's a PNV 57.
I don't know. I'll have to Google it later.
I think it's Russian or something like that. Someone will let us know. Yeah, the case here looks like Russian. There's Russian in here. PNV 57.
I think you got radiation poison right now just from touching the damn thing.
Yeah, I didn't want to open it. I didn't even want to open it. I have never opened that. And now I'm kind of scared.
You're gonna open.
Yeah. I'm kind of scared now. Like, oh, why did I open this?
Might look strange tomorrow when you wake up.
I'm telling you.
They are 1960s Gen 1 technology.
Oh, wow.
Just look that up. Yeah.
Yeah, just look.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I'm gonna make sure I close this case down really good here.
Lock all that radioactivity inside.
Yeah, Lola, if you're hearing me,
I know.
Yeah, Lola, if you're hearing me, come get this away from before certain.
So you can irradiate her?
Now you're gonna face Lola.
Yeah.
So hey, we getting any good questions from anybody out there?
Yeah, there's a lot of good questions. Let's see. I don't know if you guys see any in the chat. I like the idea of the history stuff. Let me see. Razor JB had a question, but it was all letters, so I'm trying to figure out what he's talking about. He says NGAL or MAWL.
Ingall versus Ingall versus Maul.
Versus Maul.
Some
I haven't had a chance to play with the Injal that much. I'm hoping to get my hands on one to hold it for a while and use it. I've only gotten to mess around with it. The good thing, like I said, I'm biased towards the Maul. I was an early adopter of the Maul, and when it came out, it changed the game, and it almost forced everybody's hand to, in my opinion, anyways, to make the Injal, which is L3's newest offering, and the Raid by Wilcox. So, those two devices have incorporated some of the same technology that the mall has. But B.E. Myers was really, one of the first to use that type of stuff. But I know a lot of guys love it. So it's basically a much smaller version of the LA5. So it's much more compact, and it also, if I understand, it has the Vexel style laser illuminator that the mall has. And then the Raid, same thing. The Raid has a bunch of features that I wouldn't necessarily want built into it, but somebody in a special operations unit asked for it, so they put it in there.
Mm-hmm.
What? I've not heard the word Vexel before. What is that?
Vexel is the type of it's a different type of laser that diode that until recently was primarily used and it probably still is primarily used for like fiber optic communication type stuff. And B.E. Myers figured out how to use it in this, and it's a much brighter, cleaner illuminator type. They still use the same types of diode for the laser beam itself, for the aiming laser, but for the illuminator, and that's why when the mall came out, it blew so many of the others away at first. Is just because of the illumination capability of it. Being able to push that light, that infrared light, through everything made a big difference. But the good thing is competition's out there, and as soon as somebody makes a better mousetrap, everybody else scrambles to make a better one than that. So I like competition when it comes to guns and nods and stuff like that.
Yeah. The thing
buy them all.
Buy them all, or buy
just
them all.
Buy them all.
Oh, you're saying buy them all, right?
Buy them all, but buy a mall. I'm just so I have the C1 Plus. I bought the B.E. Myers mall, and when I was looking at it, I'm like, look, I think about things. I have a saying, don't buy for the day of tomorrow. Buy them for 5 or 10 years in the future. You want to buy something and invest in something that you could potentially push beyond the boundaries that you think you need it for today. And so when I started looking at just kind of the consumer effort and where so you go single or monocular, so binocular or monocular, I'm like, okay, all right, that's one thing. I can get a good PVS 14 for this price from a buddy that I trust has got some good quality ones, or I can go out and buy, some nice 31s. They're going to cost me a pretty penny. And then I'm not going to have any money for this illuminator. And so when I start balancing it out, I'm like, you know what? I need an illuminator because I feel like even though nods cost more, I can still do what I need to do with a single nod, especially if you go get some training. You can still operate pretty well with it, still use it for what you need it for. But if you can't see, if your illuminator sucks and you can't operate it, then it will be the first thing to fail you if you don't spend the quality money. If you get into bottom line, decent level, what Don would say is like, this is where minimum where you should start at. Even if it's a single tube, okay, cool. And you go to train and you learn how to use it. But if you have a crappy illuminator that you can't see, that's cutting out on you all the time, batteries are draining real quick, then you won't be able to see whether you have 2 tubes or 1. It won't matter. You don't have the flashlighty thingy on your thingy to make you do the thing. So for me, it was kind of like, all right, I'm gonna buy this dang mall, because when I kept looking at it, I'm like, no, it's pricey. I think I spent $27.5 on mine. It's pricey. It's pricey.
Okay,
but
you can spend that much on
this is when I turned into it.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
This is when I turned into a child. So I got to
2011 pistol.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, you'll spend that on anything.
So
I went to Don's class, and a bunch of dudes were, they get the kid out, and they're all like, I got this. They're showing off their Steiners and stuff. I'm like, ooh, I get to show off standing next to you, so I couldn't wait. And I got to like standing there with their Steiners because everybody kept saying, buy a Steiner. That's what you need. You don't need that stupid mall. I'm like, okay. And we got there, and I had one dude on the line joked. He was like, I'm just not even going to cut my illuminator on anymore. He's like, I'm just going to use yours. Because the mall was just that bright. Like that, buy a mall. If you're going to do it, I'm gonna say buy the mall. The mall is just good, man. And actually, testimony to the sturdiness of it. So the mall, you can swap the head and make it go from left to right. All right. And I actually at Train and Learn, I let somebody use my gun, and that gun has some mall attached to it, and they were pretty rough with it. And when I looked at the gun, I picked it up and I noticed that the mall looked like it was separated. And it had been that way for a couple of days, right? Exposed to whatever elements and kind of separated. I'm like, all right, this is going to suck. So immediately in my mind, I'm like, okay, I know this thing's got a warranty on it, and I think it's about to have to go back. And then I remembered, I'm like, oh, you can actually swap this head around on it. So I just grabbed it, cleaned some debris out of it that had got up in there, a little water even got up in there, cleaned it all out. Not a bunch of water. We're talking about maybe a drop or two. Wiped it out, dusted it off, snapped it back down, and the thing works perfect again. So it's just not, $2,800 piece of equipment that you can't put through some wear and tear. Like, that thing actually stood up, and it's scratched up and beat up, but you know what? It works. And so I feel like my money was well spent.
Mm-hmm.
Were you in that class where it was like freezing rain that night, the first night out there?
No, I don't think I was in that one.
Oh, okay, no.
It
I
was
think the
cold.
first class I did
Hold
there
on.
in Camden.
Yes, I was.
Nasty.
Yes, I was
Yeah.
in Camden. Yep.
Yeah, that was nasty. Yep. That was nasty.
Yeah. And that thing stood up. And one thing I gotta say too, if nothing else about night vision, which I'll admit, I didn't even think about. And as soon as Don started talking about it, I'm like, I don't know why I didn't consider that earlier. But when you think night vision, most individuals, if we're being honest with ourselves, don't think night vision and how to incorporate white light. It's not even something you really think about. You're like, I got knives. Why am I using white light? Right? Like, so now you start thinking about if you're going through a building or something like that, and you might have to flip your knot up and get into it. But using white light while wearing a knot, because even when I watch when I watch guys do it, anytime white light comes into the game, before I guess all the auto gating technology got better in the knives, immediately they would flip the knot out the way and just run. But Don was actually even able to show us some tips and tricks where you can use white light while operating under night vision. I thought that was really cool. I had never thought about that before.
So that brings up for me one of the movie things. I don't know if you can hold on to that for a second, Patrick. Like when you watch, look, if we look at movies about suppressors, all the suppressors are always quiet. They all sound like 22s, even if it's coming out of an AK or something like that, right? So I know when you look at movies about this kind of stuff, the lights come on and now you're blinded and all that. I mean, is that real? Is that
No, and there's somebody actually even said something about
Mm-hmm.
armament and axes. Bro, you say use white light when using a knot, it will white out. No, it's called auto gating, and it is a feature that's built into all Generation 3 night vision that's been made in the last 20 years.
Mm-hmm.
And it senses when there's more light than you need, and it will dim. It actually regulates how much power it's pulling from the battery, so that it regulates how many photons it turns into electrons and turns into light. Now, if you shine it right at it with a high power Surefire, yeah, it might oversaturate and shut it off.
Mm-hmm.
But if you shine a white light in my face like that, you're probably gonna see fire spitting back at you.
Okay.
We say we can shut it down. I can shut you down just as easily. And I don't mean you. I mean, you can shut a regular eyeball down with white light as well. So it doesn't,
Mm-hmm.
it's not like, it's that big of a deal.
Okay.
But,
Okay. What was your question or comment there, Patrick?
Don, where are you located? Where's your class?
Home for me is Jacksonville, Florida. But as far as training goes, I travel all over the place.
Okay.
I may be coming and taking a class. I'm in Gainesville, so I'm not
no
far
way.
at all.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, not far at all. So I may be
don't
coming
do as
to
much
join.
here. I'm actually at Ancient City Shooting Range right now in St. Augustine, but
Okay.
we have a night fighter class here in December. This is my home range, but I don't do a lot of teaching here. It's where I come and shoot, and I'm friends with the owner and do my thing. And I do a couple classes a year here. But the next thing that I have going on here is not till the first weekend of December.
Okay, good to
And
know.
then,
Do you do private classes for people? And if so,
not
what
a
does that
lot,
look like?
just because I don't have a lot of the free time.
Mm-hmm.
If it was somebody local to me that hit me up, and maybe it was during the week or something like that. But this is what I do full time for a living, is travel around and teach. So
Okay.
I'm on the road, 2 to 3 weekends a month, away from home. So
What does a class look
I'm
like?
home.
Like what, if someone's out there thinking about this, like Kevin said, the best thing to do is take a class. I think it was Kevin that said that, take a class first.
Mm-hmm.
What does that look like? Paint a picture for the class.
Okay. So we start out in the classroom, actually. And wherever I teach, we have to have some sort of classroom. You know, sorry guys, but there's PowerPoint.
Mm-hmm.
We are going to talk about night vision for 3 to 4 hours sometimes. I'm going to answer questions until nobody has any more questions, and then we'll go out to the range. So we usually start, depending upon when sunset's going to be and where we're located, usually start about 3 o'clock on a Friday afternoon and do all that stuff as it's getting dark so that we can hit the range at right about dark. And then we'll shoot until about midnight on the first night, put a good 5 or 6 hours of range time. But what I've seen is everybody's pretty tired at about midnight on night one. So, that gets us where we need to be. And then you'll sleep in a little bit Saturday morning and be a lot better off Saturday night on the range. And we'll push it a little bit later. And in the wintertime, it gets dark 4 or 5 o'clock. So that's when we kind of call that night fighter season, from the time change in November until it changes back in March. But that being said, I got a sold out class in 2 weeks up in Colorado. So people want to take night vision classes, and I was like, you guys know it's summer. We're not going to even get shooting until like 9 o'clock. And they're like, we don't care. Okay, cool. So
what does a class cost? What's the price of the class?
The course itself is $700 for the 2 nights, and then rental for the gears is $200.
Okay, that's
we have
good
for
money.
gears, we've got a bump helmet, we've got the Wilcox G24 mounts, a set of dual tube goggles, and a maul as part of our kit.
That's a hell of a rental kit.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's probably one of the best rental kits out there. Not a lot of guys are able to do that. Thankfully, Sam Houston, my partner in crime on this stuff, and I are pretty well connected, and he also knows how to build the stuff. So we, it may not all be the nicest stuff in the world, but we can horse trade here and there, and people will hit us up because they know, hey, I don't know what to do with this stuff, but I know you guys can make something out of it. So we've made some good deals and got some stuff at some pretty good prices, and been able to pretty much do it without a lot of out-of-pocket expenses. So we pass that on. I mean, $200 to rent about 10 grand worth of gear.
Yeah.
For the weekend isn't bad.
Yeah.
And it helps guys.
It's a good investment, I think, to find out about.
I think so. Yeah. I mean, that's why I said I'm not trying to sell it, but I really believe that, hey, come take the class before you spend the money, and if you're on the fence about anything or you got questions, you're going to get your questions answered. Am I right, Kevin?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and don't be afraid to ask them. I mean, I'll be honest with you, man. The classroom portion was, I think that if people, especially if you're serious about investing, or you've already made your investment and you truly really don't understand how your equipment works, that classroom portion is something I really appreciated, because they got into the weeds about it. So you were able to even consider, okay, based off what they've told me now, that's going to help influence my purchase and my investment, based on the information and the feedback I'm getting. So the classroom portion to me was invaluable, because even when you stepped out to the range, to me, I felt more confident because I actually somewhat understood this thing on top of my head now. So I was actually more confident moving with it, understanding it, adjusting it and things like that because of the classroom portion. So, hats off. And I said that at the class. I was like, it's good to see that we aren't just going out to the range, just shooting. Oh, you're shooting at night. Great. You're doing all your rifle one drills just at nighttime and it's all cool. Like, you started off with a 4 or 5 hour education about this is how this technology works. This is what you need to know. So by the time we got out to the range, every press of the trigger to me was a science experiment. Every single one of them. Yep. Right, to calculate on that information that you just learned. So now I can't say enough good stuff about the class. I didn't stop talking about it for like a month.
I think I remember when Kevin got into this. I remember
I came on here and I talked about it. I was like, "Yo, you gotta this," because I like to geek out with stuff though. I don't know. I like the science and the nuance and the geeky stuff behind, because I like to be educated on what I have to a degree. I don't have to be an expert, but I do want to be educated on what I have. And I think that the way that class broke down, that's what I was looking at. I was going through my phone and still looking at all the videos that I have from the class. I got tons of these. I mean, I got tons of these videos and pictures and stuff from the class. I had a videographer there that Don was kind enough to let me bring along. So he was able to capture some content for me. And it's always good to go back and look at it. But you get out there, to Don's point, you get out there, and the first thing you do is you sit down in the classroom. That is not 80% of our industry in general. Normally, you're just on the range and you go, right? So to actually have to sit down and go over things, and they passed around an intensifier and explaining all the technology to you and the whys and the don'ts, and breaking some of the things down. Like for me, if they would not have told me, well, somebody did tell me before, but like even breaking down something as simple as, hey, take the batteries out of it. If they would have reminded me to do that, I would still have the same damn battery in this thing than I had when I showed up, right? Because as a guy that owns a lot of electronics, like most of you do, we put batteries in stuff and we just use the stuff. Nobody thinks about and for the white lights on my guns, and I got some pretty good white lights, I don't take the batteries out of those, right? Because I might need to use them at the drop of a hat. Well, night vision is a little bit different if you're not, a guy that uses it for work, right? So just all the stuff they did, then getting out to the range. I know most people do wear down at midnight. Don, I got to be honest with you. This probably be your first time hearing me say this. I was kind of mad. So I'm like, I got plenty of ammo and I want to keep going. Like, why the hell are we stopping? And then getting to the point to where, you're starting to push the limits a little bit with things you think are simple. Like if you have me do a box drill in the daytime with a gun, I'm going to be, you put 10 guys out there, I'll give myself middle. I'll float middle. He cut them lights off and was like, yeah, do a box drill. I look like a damn kindergartner picking up a rifle for the first time trying to figure it out, right? Because it's something you would think, oh, you're doing the same thing, but at night. But you start thinking about the way that your mind messes with you, right? You're not looking down at the ground and watch every single step. You're engaging a target. You're doing it at night. You're trying to learn how to use the night vision itself, how to incorporate the white light with the eye. You have to transition between different light functions. So it's not as easy as people think it is, but it's also not as hard if you really get out there and work at it. So that class opened my eyes up to a lot. And I'm gonna tell you one thing it absolutely showed me though, is that I can shoot whether the lights are on or off. Because I was rocking them targets. I was taking more pictures of them targets like a girl at the mall getting her first makeup job done on her face. Like I was taking all the pictures. But it was a good learning experience because it showed you how to incorporate it. I thought originally, like, you know what, how difficult can it be if I can see, right, in the day or night? If I can see, then I should just be able to shoot the gun, right? It shouldn't be a big deal. But then when you start looking at your technology, which is another reason why I went with the mall, when I was looking at the PECs and some of the Steiners, it was too many switches and buttons and gizmos. I'm like, man, I'm not going to remember how to use all that stuff. Like, I'm not going to have time for all that. I need something that's simple, very easy to operate, straightforward. And then when you start even thinking about like having them all, it's a great illuminator, but you still need to understand how to switch it to what mode, how to do it when you need what mode, how do you do that on the move? The right cognition really starts to play a part of all that. So it's not just as easy as moving and shooting. It's like, oh, shooting at night requires adjustments, right? Don, them teaching us about light pollution, ambient lighting, because if you would have told me night vision, I'm like, the darker the better. And that wasn't true. Moonlight is a big advantage to you, right? But somebody that's never really played with night vision would be like, yeah, the whole point is it's night, it's dark. Duh, give me all the darkness, put the thing on, and I'm good to go. You can't see, I can see. But that wasn't the case, right? So all that information and education, getting down to some of the simple things that you would think people know that they don't know and they aren't open to admit to, Don them knocked about 90% of that out within the first 4 hours. And then when you got out to the range, it was just challenging what you thought you knew. And I think everybody, even some guys that have been through it more than once, came back and they still were humbled by the experience because it's different, man. But you should do it. It's fun as hell.
Yeah.
There were several guys in that class that had been in previous night fighter classes, and I tell people this all the time, and just so everybody knows, there are prerequisites to that you need to have before you take this course. I leave it up to the individual. I'm not gonna call up whoever you say you trained with, but you need to have taken some sort of tactical style carbine course from somebody reputable. I mean, if I've never heard of them, I might, but it's up to you. Because I'm not there to teach you how to run that gun. And even though we're shooting guns, it's not a shooting course, in my opinion. It's a night vision course where we use the shooting of the guns to learn about the night vision and all the peripheral equipment that goes with it. So, I can't teach you in the middle of the night at 11:30 on a Friday night how to shoot your AR-15. if you've never heard somebody say "ready up" on a damn firing line, then you should go train with somebody, or me or whoever, and learn how a course like that goes before you do it under night vision. Because I have guys all the time. Well, I shoot a lot and I do this, or I go with my buddies, or I shoot 3-gun. I'm like, yeah, almost every time I've let somebody in, they've been over their head because they're not as good as they thought they were because they've never been in a class environment. And this is your carbine course on steroids with a light switch turned off.
Yeah.
So,
and it's not. I don't think that's a bad thing. I think that it's important to let people know there's steps and levels and stuff like that. Not in a bad way. That
even with safety, man. Imagine how sloppy if he didn't have those kind of requirements or prereqs set in place. Imagine how sloppy somebody. Imagine, okay, everybody out here has been to a range, one way, one shape, form, or fashion, or the other. Mm-hmm. Imagine how careless people are, even the people that tell you, like, oh, I've been shooting since I was, in diapers, right? And they're careless with their muzzle discipline, right? Mm-hmm. So imagine that person at night and you can't see the muzzle. Mm-hmm. Right?
It's honestly terrifying.
Yeah, it's an easy way to get hurt. I mean, yeah.
Yeah, so...
Yeah, we don't normally have any issues out there, but one of the biggest things that I see is those guys that bite off more than they can chew, they're not getting what they could have gotten out of the course.
Yeah.
They're struggling to do the stuff that they should have been proficient doing during the daytime, and they're not able to pay attention to what I'm saying, because, like I said, we spend all that time in the classroom, and then outside on the range, we do practical exercises to illustrate almost everything we've discussed in the classroom. So I may have you doing what you're used to as some sort of ready up drill that you've done over and over again, but my focus, the skill that I want you to do, or that I want you concentrating on, is different. It's, your laser offset versus your height over bore. It's doing different various things that, so my end result is, or the teaching point, that's the word I'm looking for, is not exactly the same. So if you don't know how to do ready ups, and if you don't know how to reload your rifle during the daytime without looking at the magazine, let me tell you, it's going to be a little bit more challenging when it's dark and your ability, your tool that you have that helps you see in the dark is focused out there, not in here. So everything in here is blurry. So looking at that mag well does you no good, right? Little things like that you have to be able to do, and a lot of guys, that's the first time they've ever done it. But if you're not proficient gun handler in the daytime, you're going to struggle more, and you're going to be more worried about those things than you are what I'm saying. And that's the biggest reason for the prerequisite is I don't want guys to go there and be like, man, I should have, I wasn't ready for this, because you just spent $700 to $1,000, not counting ammo and travel and all that stuff. Right. And I want people to get the most out of it.
Yeah, if you haven't done that kind of stuff, there's nothing wrong with spending that same money and getting a couple of courses in before you do it. Take baby steps. There's nothing wrong with that in this. You don't have to.
But there are plenty of guys out there that buy the night vision and immediately want to take a night fighter course. And thankfully, some of them, they read the prereqs and they send me emails and they, ask. And ultimately, I leave it up to them. I explain why and what's going to be expected of them. And, I'm not going to call up Pat McNamara and say, was this guy any good in your class?
Don't fake your credentials, though, because it's going to come out.
Yeah, it's on the individual to show up ready to train.
Yeah. So Razor JB has a good question. I think Razor JB and Night Train.
Yeah, we got some good questions out
here. He says, if you see any, man, feel free to let me know. Razor JB says, what do you think's next in night vision? And Night Train is also along those lines asking, do you think the next generation of night vision will incorporate some of the some artificial intelligence?
Along those lines, before to tie into all that, talk E-Cody as well and tell me what you think of that.
Yeah, so fusion is what he's talking about, and that's the fusion of thermal and night vision. And I don't have the E-Cody with me, but the E-Cody is this thing about the size of a Surefire flashlight, that clips on. It's smaller than that, but it's bigger than a big lighter. and it clips onto your NVGs right here, and it's called a CODI, clip-on thermal imager, and it has a thermal sensor in it, and it overlays that thermal image into the lens. Therefore, you have both night vision and thermal fused together in your vision. That's where the military is going with their purchases these days. For years and years, we were hearing digital's where they want to go. Don't worry about trying to develop Gen 4. Figure out digital. Well, we still don't really have a viable option in the digital night vision, which is basically low light cameras and infrared cameras. We don't have anything right now, but we don't have anything that's. Oh, is that a picture from the E-Cody?
Yeah, hold it up a little. Yeah, there you go. You're good.
Yeah, it's a picture of an E-Cody.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you took that at the class?
No. This is off the internet.
Okay,
Mm-hmm.
okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I probably have some pictures too somewhere about that. But that's fusion, which is pretty much what the military is starting to buy now, and they're going with dual tubes. So infantry soldiers are starting to transition slowly but surely from PVS 14 binoculars to some sort of binocular night vision, just giving them the ability to see better and process information. The biggest advantage going from a single tube to a double tube is information processing. You don't necessarily have better depth perception because you do because your brain is seeing with both eyes. So your brain is processing information the way it does during the daytime. So right now we're looking at each other, we're looking at the screen, and I see things and my brain is used to seeing what both of my eyes are giving it for input. If I close one eye, I'm restricted, right? I can't see as much. My brain's getting 50% of the images. That's not exactly the same because with a binocular during the nighttime, if there's any ambient light, yes, I can see what's going on with the other eye. But anybody who's gone from a monocular to a binocular style of night vision probably doesn't want to go back. I was one of those people that was, a proponent of sticking with binoculars until I started getting issued binoculars and running around, and now, I get it, I understand, and I'm not going to go back. I'm not going to get rid of my 14 because these things are awesome. I call them the Glock 19 or the AK-47 of the night vision world, man. Mm-hmm. They're just so useful that if you buy this to start out with, and then you're like, I'm going to sell it when I'm ready to buy my duals, you won't want to sell it. You'll want to keep it. They're just so handy to have.
Okay.
But I don't remember where we're going with that. So
yeah, I think we're looking at the future. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
They're also working on some augmented reality type stuff, which is still your night vision and thermal fusion with now I can see where other people are and I'm getting other kinds of information and input, and we're sending messages to each other from iPods or iPads and stuff like that on the battlefield in real time, sending messages, showing you what I'm seeing, things like that. Those are the kind of systems that are being worked on right now. But it's still incorporating this, what we call analog night vision technology.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of the craziest thing is the technology that we're using for night vision. It's straight out of 1920, 1930, and then developed as a night vision thing in the 1940s, 30s, and 40s. There's nothing new about it. We make improvement, and we've kind of hit a wall, as far as I can tell, with how much you can squeeze out of a tube. But
you know what? I've been saying exactly that for 10 years, and every year it gets a little bit better. So, but you're right.
Generational jumps seemed like a really big deal, but we've just been eking out little by little more performance.
Yeah.
From what I've been able to find.
Yeah. The performance levels of today's intensification tubes blow away the same tubes from 10 years ago.
Mm-hmm. It's amazing because they're all still considered Gen 3 tubes or whatever, but looking at pictures of guys going in and using them back in the mid 2000s to what I have for $2,000, what I have sitting on my desk right now, it's just mind blowing.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah. So what? Kevin's getting suited up right now.
Kevin, don't make me. I'll do it too.
So, hey, one of the other questions that I've seen pop up a couple times was, or in comments, was about like night vision's fine unless and lasers are good unless your opponent has night vision as well.
Mm-hmm.
And then
Near,
coupled with that, I've heard guys talk
peer?
about using lasers versus
Mm-hmm.
using passive aiming, and that's exactly the issue that we're starting to see in some of the stuff that's been going on overseas, where guys are encountering what we refer to as the near peer fight, where we have opponents that could potentially have night vision as well. So what do we do?
Did you guys hear recently? Did you guys just see the what was the Air Force base in Afghanistan? We just completely pulled out of one night, left the A&A. Yeah, left the A&A there with a bunch of pretty good equipment, and then like 2 days later, the A&A went, we're gonna go to the other side, and gave all this shit over to the enemy, everything they had.
Yeah,
unbelievable.
Not surprised.
I mean, what did you think was going to happen?
Yeah, exactly. I know.
What happens in a vacuum?
There were pictures of Taliban. It's amazing how the Taliban has Twitter, and they've not been kicked off Twitter, but every conservative has.
Yeah.
Taliban Twitter went live today with
safe.
pictures of rifles, all the stuff that the A&A had given over to them, and there's kit that they had gotten that I drool over. They had full power PECs. They had top quality optics on M16s, like all sorts of good shit that they just handed over. Just here you go.
Yeah.
So Don, you brought up something good in class, and I know you were starting to get on a roll there about it, but you brought up something good in class that I think that people should think about. Not only your enemy, which I know is a whole conversation you can have. I'm not the guy to talk about
That's
that.
Why I
but you brought up something about cheap home surveillance cameras that I found very interesting, about how your IR can be picked up on cheap like home cameras and things that are could you walk through that again, because I thought that was really, really interesting.
So if you remember, there was some slides of that light, and we were talking about photonic barriers that was blocking you from being able to see me, and then we used the laser and the illuminator to punch through that, and that's actually right up here at the office where I am now at Ancient City, and it's just the LED, the IR LED that's on the security camera that's there, and that's what these night, low light cameras. Basically, they're a digital camera that sees really low light, but it needs some sort of illumination, and you use IR light or something near IR, and it sees it really well. And they also can pick up, you buy your Ring cameras and stuff like that. The security systems, they're night and low light cameras. They can see, and they're going to pick up that IR or any light source, like your iPhone camera. If you turn that on, you can see an infrared LED light. Just walk through your house and see what you can see through that you can't see normally. And that's why we talk about, if you do need to disable it, you can hit it with some high energy infrared, not disable it, but you can white it out for the time being anyways. You're not going to damage it necessarily.
Okay.
Does that answer what you're talking about, Kev?
Yeah, because I thought that was pretty interesting, right? Because you're like, people think in night vision, I'm not going to give away the class because you cover that in class too, but they need to sign up for class to get
it's hard to talk about here, and we got like a few minutes. It's hard to do anything but talk about the wave tops.
Right.
Anything.
Yeah, and we don't have the slides, and we don't have the equipment and everything.
Oh man, it was very interesting, and you have to take the class to get the experience. But when you talk about night vision, you think that nobody can see you, and then you start learning about the ways they can absolutely see you. It's like, oh, okay, didn't think that, right? you're just thinking it's hard to see, even understanding. I don't know. It's good to go learn. You should absolutely take the class. It was a lot of information, but most people would think, let's just be honest, they would think if I have night vision, then yes, because I do have this superpower, that nobody else has this superpower. Nobody else can combat me. I'm invincible. And I think that the class exposes like you have an advantage, but once again, if you don't train to use your advantage, it becomes a disadvantage.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you have to understand the strengths and limitations of all of that. And that's the reason we talk about the light spectrum in the class, and we do all that stuff is education. It's the same thing that I feel that somebody who would say, I want to be a really good rifleman. Well, in my opinion, a rifleman, if you're going to give yourself that title, you need to understand how that rifle works as much as you can about it, as much as you can understand about ballistics, and all of that stuff, so that you understand how that tool works and how you can best employ it, and across a wide range of situations. And it's very similar with night vision. It's even more technical. The more you know about how it works, the more you understand why it's not doing what you need at this point in time, and maybe you know what type of peripheral equipment that you need to employ, such as IR illumination, or switch to white light, or we need thermal for this, or something like that. All that stuff, and leading right into that, that near peer issue with somebody else can see my lasers. I'm not the only one with that on there. There's a trend nowadays with putting taller mounts on the rifles, on the ARs, and one of the driving forces behind that is shooting, what we call passive shooting, with night vision goggles. So, and we go through it all, and this is another thing I could spend a half an hour talking about, that I can't pick up a rifle here and show guys. But in the past, it was really difficult to do because we always had these low mounts. We wanted this 1/3 co-witness, and especially when the average guy only had a PVS 14, it was really hard to line all that up and see that, that dot. And then as we started getting more, when we started getting dual tube binocular style, it got a little bit easier because I had two goggles that I could line up behind that. And then we started to realize, okay, if I have a bigger lens, like an Aimpoint Pro or Comp M4 or an EOTech, it's easier to pick up. And then all of a sudden, hey, if I put a riser under that thing, if I get it up a little bit taller, I don't have to try to get a cheek weld. I can do this and see straight at my dot. So it started getting easier and easier and easier to do. And at about the same time, we started to realize, hey, look, we're not the only ones that can see in the dark. So this is something we need to learn how to do. And then good for us, the industry listened, and some companies started making accessory mounts for the optics that helped us be able to do that. So it's another thing where it's like, when do I turn on the laser? When do I not turn on the laser? Now having those options to not have to do that is available to us.
So I was watching a video the other day of night fighting with the invasion of Iraq, and every single dude just had full power laser, constant on, lightsabers just waving around the sky. Are we pretty much moving away from that at this point? Like, most guys, you're not supposed to just have that on 24/7, waving it around, right?
The unfortunate thing is, generally speaking, in the military across the board, there is no training. There's no formal training when it comes to this stuff. So guys didn't know what they didn't know. Some lessons were learned the hard way, and guys are figuring out, hey, I don't want to leave this thing on all the time and do that. Your more proficient guys are in your more specialized units, your Ranger battalions, and places like that, where they understand what they needed, and they've got their own internal formal training. But classes like my night fighter class don't exist in the regular Army. It's mostly trial and error. Here it is.
I would say, I would have thought that at some point they would have done training like against each other in teams, and they would have seen that that's what they're doing, and someone would be using it.
But it's all trial and error learning. And it depends on how much effort they put into that type of training. And that varies from place to place.
Yeah, someone asked this question here. Bob Hartman says, "How good is a night vision scope when a tripwire flare goes off? Is that a thing?"
Yeah, I mean, I imagine he's talking about night vision in general, but it's just like somebody turning on a light. That's what the auto gating does. It protects you from that. Just like with your own eyes, your eyeball, you're not going to stare at it. Right? You're going to look away. And then it has plenty of ambient light. So as Kevin said, the more light you have, the more you can see. The night vision goggle processes available light. So if a trip flare or somebody turns on a light over there or something, that will illuminate other places. That's throwing light everywhere. Even so, the places that, hey, it didn't really light that up too much. Well, under my nods, I can see a hell of a lot more. over here because of this light over there. I'm not going to stare at a burning magnesium flare even with my naked eye, let alone my night vision goggles. But it can help. Could it cause some what we call microchannel plate oversaturation, where it leaves some streaks in there? Yeah, it could, but usually that stuff goes away. If you stare at it, you could damage your night vision. It's not like it's completely bomb-proof or bulletproof. You need to understand that if you stare at something that bright, you could cause a burn spot in it. Usually it's focused light. The ones that I've seen that have the most damage to them was usually caused by a laser because it's focused and intense.
Okay. Did you want to ask a question there, Patrick?
No, I'm just listening. People, I don't think a lot of guys that don't own night vision. Remember, I've only had night vision for a month now. But auto gating is a thing. Auto gating is there. It's a feature, and turning your tube down automatically is what helps when you have situations like that where the lights turn on. The old scene from Silence of the Lambs. It doesn't work like that anymore with auto gating, really. But that technology didn't come around until the early 90s? PVS 7s were the first like true Gen 3s with auto gating?
But the early 90s was 30 years ago, 25 years ago.
See, you know what's funny?
Why are you being illogical?
I'm going to go off on a slight tangent here. Is for whatever reason, my wife and I, we're millennials. I'm 32, so everything for me is going from the year 2000 back. And I don't know why, but that's how 1980 to me is like 20 years ago. For whatever reason, my brain is like, 1980, that's like 20 years ago. Even though it's like, 40-something years ago? But yeah, my brain always wants to do that from the year 2000. I don't know why.
Yeah. It's a long time, and a lot of things have changed. Before we get off the subject of the future stuff here, what would you guys like to see? What, if you could... As someone who understands this, especially Don, right? You understand this. You've used this to fight and everything. If you could just draw a picture of what you want the technology to look like, what would you want it to look like?
I'm a big fan of the fusion stuff. I would like to not have to clip on something. And we have fusion systems that are all encompassing in one unit, but they're really heavy and bulky. I'd like to have it all inside something like this eventually, and not have to have an add-on piece. And I think we're getting there. Everything seems to be getting smaller and lighter, and the thermal sensors are starting to get smaller and lighter. That's what I'd like to see. The stuff that we're playing around with, the augmented reality stuff. Once it becomes a thing, I'd like to see it get small enough that it's really user friendly. Because right now, some of that stuff is still a little bit cumbersome, but it's getting better and better. I mean, we're talking about basically dudes having an iPad right here on their chest, and it's just communicating through their radio to other dudes around them, and they're just they can drop a pin. I'm right here, and then they can see. I'm looking at that doorway. That's where I want you to go. That's where they're going with this stuff.
Okay.
It's really cool.
How soon before I could just put on a pair of glasses and that's too much, right? Yeah. Too much.
Yeah. I mean, some of us have kind of played around in theory with the idea of, like a low light camera built into a small helmet, like a hockey helmet or something like that. But I got to think if it was really viable, that somebody with a bigger brain than mine and a lot more money would have probably made it already. But
digital,
like I said,
digital is where it's going to have to go. If you want something like that to exist, it has to move into the digital realm. It can't be the analog realm. And for whatever reason, I guess the analog works so well at this point that money hasn't been dumped into digital like it has for analog tubes. So technology hasn't progressed like it has for analog. But yeah, if I do think if digital moved along far enough, you could potentially have cool shit like that.
So in the military, let's say that I don't know whether or not you know this, right? But usually you have like the top secret stuff the guys are working on, they're nowhere close to that. It's just still pretty close to what we're talking about right
you
now.
said
Right?
the operative word there, top secret.
I know. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
Obviously, obviously that's a tough thing to talk about. But I would expect that someone's pouring money into that to get the advantage, especially if everyone's going to have it. Right? The advantage is always tech.
Right. We're always trying to stay ahead of our opponents,
Mm-hmm.
and we won the space race mainly by outspending
Mm-hmm.
the
Exactly.
Soviets.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
So, I gotta know or gotta believe that, yes, I'm just not 100% certain what the main focus is these days. I was pretty sure for years that they were, because the military was saying, hey, digital's where we want you to go. So that's where industry was pushing money and stuff like this is what they're going to want to buy from us. We got to figure this out. And then I guess either it took them too long or they went and said, it ain't going to happen anytime soon or whatever. So, but here we have this thermal fusion stuff. And so I think that now that is the hot ticket. And then going from single monocular to binocular.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's.
I mean, and so I don't know how much they look at this when they're developing it. That they look at the animals that are out there, right? There's a lot of nocturnal animals. I mean, they're little tiny things. If those little creatures can be able to see at night, they don't have any kind of tech. I know they've got their eyeballs and brains. I mean,
Yeah.
Well, I mean, if you think about it, that's what the analog technology kind of is. It's a wide open iris, which is like a animal eye, and the problems that come along with that, depth of field, all the issues that come along with that analog technology from an animal. It's the same stuff that we have in these tubes here. It's very similar.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Kevin's real quiet on this. What are you up to, Kevin? Are you fighting with someone on the internet already?
No, I don't fight with people on the internet. They always lose when they try to fight me. No, I was looking at the nods because as they were talking, I'm listening. This is what happens when I'm really picking up on what people are saying. But they were talking, I'm listening. I'm like, yeah, I just ran into a company at Iraq Veterans shoot a few weeks ago, and I think I forget their name. I think they start with an S, but either way, they have the clamps here. They have different accessory clamps for your rail. I got to get the guy's card. I think I'm gonna actually take these off and run with my walkers Bluetooth, because even though when I equip the helmet up, now I'm like, how can I start taking some crap off of her and making it lighter? Right.
I know.
So
it's a
kind of where
constant
I'm
battle
at right now.
Yeah. I'm sure there's some young, because a lot of times, like especially with the big companies that are out there, there's such big companies, it's tough for them to turn that ship around and do something. It seems a lot of times nowadays you have young people out there who put a bunch of different technologies together and develop something, and then the big company comes and buys it out, or what have you. That's what we're seeing a lot, right?
Yeah, well, and we're also seeing a lot of smaller companies, like you said, that are able to quickly put a product out, making accessories. And the peripheral accessory market for the night vision world is really cool. And everything from stuff for your helmet to now, used to be there was like one way to put your peltors on your helmet. Now there's, I don't even know how many, dozens of them. And you can pretty much, he's got his walkers on there. And now there's so many different ways. Somebody will come up with a new mounting solution, and then somebody will come up with an adapter so you could use your Walker game ears with it, something like that. So even when we're talking about optic mounts and all these various things, retention devices, all this stuff. So there's a lot of guys with a lot of great ideas that are and that's just because of the growth and the popularity of night vision, mostly in the civilian sector, because a guy that's going to make something, a widget that goes along with night vision, he's never going to get that in front of the military and get a big giant government contract. But he can sell it to all of his buddies and everybody in all the night vision Facebook groups and forums and stuff like that, and make a pretty decent living. And you know what? Someday maybe it's cool enough that some military guys see it and like, oh, we got to have this. and then he gets it from there. But so he wouldn't have been able to do that without the popularity. So that's what's cool is really for the first time ever that I've seen is the commercial market is really starting to be part of the innovation of night vision. Because up until I'd say 5 or 6 years ago, the equipment we had available to us was only what was being made for the military, and because the manufacturers would only make it for government contracts, they really didn't care what Joe the civilian.
Yeah, civilian market didn't matter.
It wasn't that big. Now there's a lot of smaller players in the civilian market that are, hey, I'll make that. I can make that. I got a machine shop, and they'll make some prototypes. They'll get it, OEM'd, and boom, now we got another cool way to put our ear pro on our helmet, or another cool counterweight, or another cool retention device, or something like that. And then if the guy who designed it's lucky, somebody in the Army will see it and buy some for his buddies and himself, and then before you know it, he's getting purchases from from the government. But it used to be you get what you get, don't throw a fit, because they're not L3 and the big wigs out there. They don't really care what we want when it comes to lasers.
There's for anybody that's interested that wants to go look, there's an interesting video, and I think it was from Tactical Rifleman, his channel. It might have been him, or it might have been another guy. I have to look it up. Going through the history of like night vision tech, so like his helmet setup from early '90s up till now, and all this stuff, and it's amazing where we've come from with like helmets, mounts, and all the shit that goes on it. It's really cool.
Yeah. So this is not for me. This is not for me. But let's say hypothetically, there's like a YouTube guy out there who doesn't have like necessarily the money to spend on this thing. What is that guy's path? What's his path to doing this and making a relationship maybe with some of these companies? Get
rid of a couple of things in a safe that are never being used, and then
get more sponsors, get more followers, make more money.
Yeah.
There you go. Bang.
All that crap that's just sitting in the safe that this random person may have that never gets shot, sell it on the market. And,
this is not the stuff you're going to see easily out there, because it's just really expensive to get into. It's not the most expensive thing in the world. There's a lot of things. I mean, I've seen people with $10,000 guns, $20,000, $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 guns.
I mean, look at what you can spend on a turbo for a car.
Yeah, I was gonna say, pretty much everybody needs a car, but not everybody needs a Porsche or a Land Rover.
I'm sorry, I need a 911.
This,
you know what I'm saying is
I'm with
guys,
you.
This is the Toyota Corolla.
Yeah.
This is the Ford Focus and Toyota Corolla, and most people can afford that if they wanted to.
Yeah.
You just have to want to bad enough. Right.
So Lola asked this question earlier, and I know Patrick did this. What do you think about building your own stuff? What's the bad? Like what do you think about that?
You can do it, but there's no guarantees. There's no warranties.
Mm-hmm.
I know there's some YouTube tutorials out there, and it can be done. I'm not going to lie. Probably the first PVS 14 I ever had was built by a buddy of mine. And we had no idea what we were doing, and it was missing some parts inside it. It still worked, but it was less than ideal. But you roll, you pay your money, you take your chances, kind of thing. Most people aren't going to necessarily save a lot of money if you're doing it for the science experiment side of the thing, or something like that. That's cool. It's getting easier and easier. It's not quite as I'm not saying it's difficult to build, but it's not quite the same as building an AR-15 where you can just get the parts wherever. But kind of the cool thing is you were able to to actually source that stuff, but it's a little bit harder. You kind of really have to get into the culture to know who to contact to buy an image intensification tube. and the lens assemblies and the body housing and all the parts that go on the inside to hold it together and all that stuff. That's just not the kind of thing that you could buy. I don't even think you might be able to buy a PVS 14 kit from TNBC, but companies that are in the business of selling completed sets aren't necessarily going to sell you just parts.
Yeah,
and there are downsides to building. I don't know if I said it in the video, but the actual tool sets, the spanner wrenches and things like that aren't available. No, the regular market cannot get them. And believe me, I'm the type of person that can find anything on the internet for sale. I have not been able to find a tool set. Not available. Nitrogen purge set, that stuff's expensive. You're not just going to go out and buy a nitrogen purging kit. So yeah, there are downsides to it. But for me, the learning process of how it works, how the internals work, how it functions, what it does, that was well worth it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, not me. Nope. Nope, not me. No, sir. Nope, bye. I know that these things break stuff, and I'm not. Nope, I'm like, nah, I'm cool. Nope, I'm gonna buy them because I like when stuff to break. I can be like, hey, fix it. You person.
That with a TNVC built product, you get a warranty, and you get most of the time you get a card that tells you the specs of your tube. I have no idea.
Well, if you buy from anything from TNBC, you get the data sheets.
Yep.
And they're not the only ones. Anybody who's selling new stuff should be providing a data sheet, which is basically the Carfax report or the dyno or the birth certificate of that tube that's inside there. If it's
that, and that's one of the things.
If you're not getting it, but the guy's like, hey, look, these are secondhand tubes. They, you get what you get. As long as you're getting a deal on it and you know what you're buying. That's the thing is right now there's so much disinformation and misinformation out there that some guys are, they don't know what they should know, and they're not always being taken advantage of. In some cases, they are being taken advantage of by people, but sometimes they don't understand what it is they're buying, and they thought they were getting a brand new unit, or they thought they were going to get this, but they didn't read the fine print, or they didn't understand what they were getting, and that what they got was a refurbished unit, or something that was built from disassembled, reassembled parts. Which there's nothing wrong with that. I would, all my rental gear is cobbled together stuff. I mean, it was built by somebody who used to run the build program for TNBC, so I know it's built right and it's serviced properly and all that. But all our rental stuff is exactly that. It's pretty much stuff that we've bought here and there and whatnot. But it's it's the quality stuff. It's not.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure I saw a setup that you could put on your face and then put your iPhone in there, and then you have night vision. Pretty sure I saw that.
Oh, God.
Probably.
Jesus.
Yeah, they mean like the stuff they sell with the Call. I remember a bunch of people when Call of Duty, I forget which kid it was.
Yes.
They were like, buy the Call of Duty game, you get the night vision, and dudes were like running around like, I got knives now.
Modern Warfare 2, the latest Call of Duty that came out last year, the collector's edition came with quad nods, and it's just a little camera with a screen. But yeah, that was the big rage last year. Was the special edition had fake quads.
A lot of times you can always make money from from people who want to get into it cheap. I mean, that's just a way that you get conned. It happens to a lot of us until you realize that ultimately, and on a lot of things, you're getting what you pay for. There are places that you can get stuff cheap.
This is one of those hobbies that you honestly get what you pay for. You will get what there's no way around paying good money for good equipment. It's just, unless you know the wholesaler and can get a deal like that, there's just no way around paying good money. But again, with that, you get quality equipment. You get something that is going to last you.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And there's peace of mind with a good warranty and stuff like that.
Yeah. Yeah. So listen, we've done 2 hours already.
Already, we're just getting started.
Yes.
I know.
We didn't even talk about
stayed on subject the whole time. Look at that.
Yeah.
And stayed on subject the whole time.
I know.
Impressive.
Yeah, we stayed pretty organized. We didn't talk about any of the fun stuff. Hopefully we'll have Don back. I know lots of people in here saying this was very informative. Brian Quick wants to know what's Don's preferred pistol. We'll get that in here really quick.
Yeah, so I mean, right now, Brian, I shoot the one I carry every day and use the most is a Glock G45 9mm with a aim point acro, the older one, the P1 on it. Really love it. I shoot Glocks because that's what most of my students and my people shoot. Favorite pistol of all time, probably Browning High Power.
Okay.
Oh, good choice.
That's a good one.
Good
there you go.
That's a good one.
Appalachian Gunrunner getting his last shot in at Kevin Dixie before he gets out of here in a friendly way. He says, "Great show, guys. I'm about to go eat and drink for all of us poors. Remember, you can defend yourself without envy. Envy is cool, but people defend themselves without it for thousands of years."
Absolutely.
Yeah.
No, I think that's a fact. I don't think that's a shot. That's a fact. Yeah, you don't need night vision. I just think if you find yourself in a position where you can use it for an advantage, it's great. But white light's been doing fine by people for a long time.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And maybe here all of a sudden,
but Appalachian Gunrunner, that really does sound like something a poor person would say.
Don delivered that so straight. Just like zing right into the heart. Going down.
Right.
Yeah, he's gonna unfollow me now.
No. He's a good dude. He's a good dude. Listen, yes, it was fun. I'm gonna go around the clock really quick here. I'm gonna start with Kevin Dixie. Tell the folks out there like where they can find you, how they can support you.
Well, it was fun being on, Don. I can't thank you enough for your time and expertise sharing with us tonight. Babyface, good to see you again. And Hank, yeah, thanks for hitting the buttons. That's about what you're good for.
Right.
So, you can keep up with me at nootherchoice.com. All the classes are scheduled over there. Check us out for coming to your states. We got Tennessee on the books coming up. We got Georgia, South Carolina, Missouri. Sorry, this truck's going to come out. It's going to get really loud in a second.
Okay.
California is even on the books for early next year. So just go to the website.
Okay, what happened to him? How does a truck go by and knock out his internet? Okay.
Yeah. There we go. All right. If you need that new, this thing froze. Or is it playing?
Yeah, you're here now. Yeah.
Is it froze?
No, you're here. We got you. I don't think he can hear us.
I don't know. I think he's locked up again.
Yeah, that truck got him.
Hello. Yeah. I think it froze.
Yeah, the truck. Yeah, we can hear you. You're here. Okay, let's go to Don. Don, tell the folks out there.
So what's the question? Where can you find me?
Did it freeze?
Instagram, Greenline Tactical.
Mm-hmm.
I'm on the Facebook. I have a company page, Greenline Tactical or Greenline. I don't remember. And then you can hit me up through Facebook. We just launched our new website about a week ago. It's still working out some kinks, but greenlinetactical.com. Improvement big time over the old one. We got a pretty busy schedule ourselves for the rest of the year. Night Fighter here in St. Augustine in December, and that exact same weekend, first weekend of December, out in Las Vegas. We're running 2 classes simultaneous. And then going out to, I got shotgun class this weekend, but Colorado in a couple of weeks. Red Dot Pistol in Camden, Tennessee, right after Tactical Responses Alumni Weekend. There's going to be, it's not on the calendar yet, but there'll be a combat carbine course out in St. George, Utah. And then there's a Texas Night Fighter in October. I don't remember the dates. It's in the Bastrop, Texas area. Off the top of my head, that's what I remember. Anyways.
Yeah.
But, hit me up. Oh, and the new website, we're going to have a newsletter. I haven't had that before. The old one didn't really have a provision for that. So go there, guys. Sign up for the newsletter. That way, if I get kicked off of Facebook and Instagram, you can still hear what's going on and stuff like that, man. And that's a new thing for me that we have going on. And there's just lots of other stuff, man. Some of my adjunct instructors are going to start teaching additional classes and stuff like that won't necessarily involve me, and some of it's their own curriculum. So we're going to have a lot more offerings in the precision rifle realm and stuff like that. So lots of things getting ready to happen in the next quarter, I'd say.
Okay, very cool. Let's go to Babyface P, and then we'll come back to Kevin.
YouTube.com/babyfaceP and baby_faceP. We have a whole bunch of this cool stuff coming along. I do need to pick up a laser unit. I will buy one eventually. I just gotta get the money together. But now we're gonna have a whole lot of filming and content with night stuff.
Yeah,
coming up
someone
soon.
suggested a OnlyFans for me, so you might want to try that too.
I
That might, I mean,
don't know
that
how much
might
they're gonna
work.
pay me.
I
but-
mean, you could put up some naked pictures with the NVs, and if that helps you get there, that's that's not a crime. You don't have to feel guilty about it. Okay, yeah, Kevin Dixie, what do you want to say? What do you want to say?
All right, I'm sorry. I don't know what part I got thrown out,
Yeah.
but nootherchoice.com is where you can go get all the class information and keep up with swag. I mean, you can get swag there. You can get the hats. You can get the shirts you see me wear. You can get, if talking about night vision, if you need an RDS to go on top of that MOS firearm or something you have milled out and you want to be able to, have read down on there that we have it. I even have you can DM me directly if you want it. I do have one 507 XC2. I had 5 of them come in. 4 buddies bought them before I got to put up on the website. I got 1 left. So somebody wants one, shoot me a DM. I can get you over there. Even if you want like the Hollison 509, which is one of my favorites to run right now, let me know if you're into night vision, stuff like that. But nootherchoice.com. Email us at info@nootherchoice.com if you have a question. Also, please, I heard Don mention it earlier, sign up for this free, sign up for the email list. That way we can stay in touch in case, social media wakes up tomorrow and in unison is like, screw all you guys, right? And they kick us all off. So please make sure you sign up and look out for the classes coming in your area. Like I said, we got Missouri, Tennessee, South Carolina, Georgia, California early next year. I'm working on some other states to add to that. I think we got Kentucky supposed to be rolling through. We're working on Ohio. So, just stay on the website, stay looking out. And, we hope to get you in a class soon. I am adding next year. We'll be
Everyone's
adding
putting on
3
their night
instructors.
vision right now, so you might want to put yours on too, Kevin.
For my night vision,
Yeah,
I got it.
Yeah.
We're
Well,
working
I
on a few
noticed
other
it's dark
instructors,
outside.
so
Yeah.
You'll be able to sign up for that too. So that being said, man, that's about it. Oh, stogies and straps. So everybody be on the lookout for stogies and straps. Even people on this show ought to be looking out for their invite to come on. We're going to be doing in-studio stogies and straps where we sit back for an hour and a half, and we either smoke cigars, have a drink, or do neither on the set and actually have some conversations about the gun
I'm not
culture.
putting these things
We want to
on.
extend it outside of the gun culture as well. So everybody be on the lookout for stogies and straps. We start recording those episodes in September. So, look out for that. That'll be on YouTube and all your podcast sites everywhere that Hank's going to help me get set up.
Absolutely. We'll talk about that tomorrow. Okay, listen. So I'm going to wrap it up right now. I'm going to do the end, and we're going to come back, and we're actually going to get Don to give us the words of wisdom. I think everyone could agree on that here. Big thanks to everyone. Shout out to Walther Arms for sponsoring the show. I am, after this, going to be on with Smash Time Live, so I'm doing some extra long duty tonight. So look out for that. Let me run in the end. Don't go anywhere. We're going to be right back here and get the words of wisdom from Don. Alright guys, thanks so much for watching. Make sure you smash those thumbs ups, ring the bell. Make sure you go check out US Law Shield. We've got links all over the place, so we've got them at hankstrange.com. Don, words of wisdom, sir.
Words of wisdom. You put me on the spot, man.
Yeah.
Well, it's kind of funny, but hey, it's 2021. We put red dot optics on our pistols and we wear night vision.
Yeah. Okay.
It's here to stay. I don't know if you guys shoot
We're
red
living
dots
in the
or not.
future. Is that what you're saying?
What's that?
I said
We're living in the future.
We're living
These
in
are
the
the good
future.
old days right now.
Yeah. It's true.
It's the dot on the pistol thing. It's not a fad. Every manufacturer makes an optics ready pistol except Colt.
Yeah. Well. Yeah.
And we wonder why they're going out of business.
Yeah, we all know how that goes. Okay, listen, great show. Thanks to everyone. We are out of here. No show tomorrow night. We'll see you guys back here next week, but I will be on Smash Time. Everyone stay right there. We're out for now. Peace.
Peace.